Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be using this beautiful crispy pork belly that you see as a passport ingredient that with a little luck and skill will transport me to my local favorite Vietnamese restaurant that's been closed down for the better part of this year from within my very own kitchen. My go-to order is their banh mi, and even though it normally comes with grilled pork cutlets, I thought it would be fun to whip this one up with some seriously crispy pork belly. I want to give a big thanks to National Pork Board for sponsoring this video, but without further ado, let's dive into the recipe. Alright, so the first thing you need to work on is of course the pork belly, since this will take a few hours to cook. Since we aren't going to trim any of the fat away for this method, make sure to score the fatty side into small diamonds or squares. This will massively help the rendering of the majority of the fat and helps with the crisping process later on. Too much fat and it just won't crisp up properly. Once it's scored, season it with a generous amount of salt and a mix of chili powder, paprika, ginger powder, ground celery seeds, garlic powder, and onion powder. Give this a good rub and bake in a 350-degree oven covered for 1.5 hours. The last 30 minutes, remove the cover, turn the heat up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and continue to bake until the skin is a dark golden brown and the meat is super tender. Since this sandwich is one of my favorites of all time, I'm going to whip up some homemade mayonnaise for this very special Sammy. In a small mixing bowl situated atop a damp rag, add in Dijon mustard, white wine vinegar, salt, and an egg yolk, and give this a good whisk. Then begin the emulsification by slowly drizzling in the vegetable oil while constantly whisking. Once it starts to thicken up, you can gradually add more and more oil until it becomes almost too thick to whisk. At that point, the mayo is finished, but I personally like to hydrate it with some cold water to adjust for consistency, and it lightens up the color of the homemade mayo from yellow to an almost off-white. Store in the fridge covered until you're ready to use it. Normally, banh mi comes with a variety of crunchy veggies from restaurant to restaurant, but I always appreciate when they're slightly pickled. It just really brightens up the sandwich so much, in my humble opinion. So here I'm going to use the turning Japanese mandolin to create thin carrot noodles that will be pickled with a simmering mixture of mirin, rice wine vinegar, salt, and a little bit of sugar. Pour this right over the top of the carrots and set it in the fridge until you are ready to assemble the sandwich. Now it should be time to remove the pork belly from the oven and start the crisping. Put the pan on the stove and turn the heat up to medium-high and start to baste the top of the belly with the rendered pork fat until it starts to sizzle and slightly pop. Be very careful of the oil popping every now and again, since the pork does leach a bit of moisture into the fat every few minutes or so. Just keep your head back and baste safely until the skin is ultra crispy. It shouldn't take any longer than 5 to 10 minutes. Once the skin is super crispy, begin to slice and assemble the banh mi. Locally, I don't have access to good Vietnamese bread for a traditional banh mi, but believe it or not, Bolillos work perfectly as a substitute. Split the bread down the middle, but not completely through. Layer a generous amount of mayo on the bottom, then the cilantro, those beautiful pickled carrots, some freshly sliced jalapeños if you're a spicy fanatic like I am, and finally the beautiful glistening pork belly to finish, and that's it, folks. Crispy pork belly banh mi. If you want to learn more about the National Pork Board, visit www.pork.org/realpork. Hopefully you enjoyed my take on this crispy pork belly banh mi. So fresh and beautiful. Pickled carrots, spicy jalapeños, that wonderful cilantro flavor, a nice like crispy but soft roll, and of course the crispy pork belly. Such a beautiful sandwich. Has some of my favorite flavors with the sort of the sweet and sour. I love a really good banh mi. But I actually have never done it with the crispy pork belly, and I don't even think I've seen it on a menu before. I know there's Vietnamese restaurants that have it, but I haven't encountered one that really, pulled me into it. So thought it was a great time to do it, especially since it's hard to get out and find a restaurant that's open, especially Vietnamese restaurants. It's just, I've had a hard time doing it. So this transports me to a beautiful Vietnamese cuisine, that I crave all the time. I want to thank National Pork Board for sponsoring this video and this recipe, and I'm excited. I'm going to dive in now. So run through the flavors and tell you how I did. Oh, man. It's like soft, but you can tell it's loaded with that crunchy. Wow. I love the banh mi that I get from my local Vietnamese place. This one's pretty good though. I gotta say the pork belly, that crunchy, crispy skin, a little bit more buttery, a little more rich. And so the pickled carrots, just super complimenting with that acid and the fat. Oh my gosh. This is a craving. And believe it or not, the homemade mayo makes a little bit of a difference. I know it'd be hard for a lot of folks to tell the difference, but I've been making homemade mayonnaise for quite some time, and I prefer how I make it versus any store-bought, especially since I use the chicken eggs from the chickens in my backyard. So yeah, I mean, there's just little things like that that can make a difference. And yeah, this is a beautiful banh mi. The pork belly sets this thing off just to the stratosphere. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the recipe. If you did, make sure you give this video a like. Subscribe to my channel if you guys enjoy what I do here. Comment down below for future video requests, things that you want to see on my channel. Make sure you check the description box below for the ingredient list. And I'll see you guys with another video. Later, folks.